All right, we're live. But yeah, so I've been playing with the servers, the fun stuff. But yeah, I think like RunCloud is pretty good. It for managing the VPSs. So far, it definitely makes things easier, and it's got the whole stack, and it's automatically maintained. And like you're seeing, Josh, I mean, it's pretty much equivalent, I think, speed wise. I don't even have the CDN enabled there actually. So what you're seeing is the site without the CDN, because the CDN is a like it. We have one account on there, so I didn't want to try and double hook it up. But
right. What could go wrong?
Yeah, I think we could probably do this and move this over, and it'd be better than as long as it's performing as well.
Oh, then
there's yeah. But yeah, I think that the benefits of moving to RunCloud is that, like I said, we don't have to maintain it. We don't have to worry about things going wrong, and it's probably a little bit faster. Plus, just switching over to a performance server with getting an echo somewhere.
I was going to say, I'm hearing some feedback.
Manny's feeding back.
But I think also just switching to the performance server for DigitalOcean is a win.
Cool. Is that the same pricing as what we had? Or...
Yep, it's the same pricing. It's basically less RAM server. We're paying for the same pricing but higher CPU.
Okay.
So, good thing he muted for. Actually, you know what?
I was going to say, I think you can mute him. So
there we go. Okay, that's better.
Way to shut him up.
But yeah, we also probably should at some point go through and like get rid of plugins we're not using and stuff for.
You know, I've actually kept a pretty tight rein on that. We could go through again. There might be a couple, but most of the ones that are on there are ones that, at least, you know, I think there's not a whole lot of cruft there. So
yeah, there wasn't much. There was like a few that I wasn't sure about. Like
there's a lot of plugins, but
yeah,
we're using them.
There's like a table plugin and stuff that it didn't look like the table plugin was being used anymore. Let's see.
That was the one. I think that was the one I used to truncate, possibly to truncate the Thrive. Thrive is a space hog. It stores data about every single thing that ever happens on any of the pop-ups or anything, so it adds up really fast.
I can't unmute Manny. Maybe he has to do it on his end.
He can just sign. There you go.
Oh wait, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So anyway, it's been an adventure going back into Linux command line and freaking SSHing into the machines. But I think I got it figured out. Like I said, I moved the Bulldog Mindset server over, and that one's being managed by RunCloud now, and it's faster. And yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. I guess maybe when I get back, we can look at this more now that I know how to do it and see how the testing goes. But
I'll let you tell Carl
that we're done with him.
Well, or that we're testing. We're like,
moving to RunCloud.
Yeah. We're gonna have to, right?
I mean, I don't know. The thing is, like, the problem with Carl, like, I mean, it's great to have your own Linux admin, but some of his stuff is like, it's like I don't know, like, do you want the mad scientist like running your like? Yeah, he's brilliant. He knows what he's doing, right? You know, but it's his own special formula of shit, right? And it's
and he has to like recompile like the Linux kernel or something every time.
Yeah,
they update. It's pretty. He's got some pretty heavy customizations that he's done. It's not. I think it's Redis or something that he's got his own custom fork that he goes and maintains every time they do updates, and then periodically he has to recompile it, and yeah, it's definitely not a standard configuration.
Sounds like what you should base your business on.
Yeah, so I don't know. So it's I'm not sure if he's modified the actual WordPress files in order to use his little Redis thing, which you can just do using a plugin anyway. So I'll have to investigate that slightly, but plus we've got the Nagios server that's monitoring it because of it creates the whole complex, and then like that SSL script that he has for the Let's Encrypt. So if we have it all just on Run Cloud where it's a standard configuration, but it's super fast because they're still using like that, then I don't know. To me, that's seems like a better option. Plus, last night I rebooted the Simple Programmer server, right? And and when it came back up, the website didn't come up, right? So it's like, oh shit. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to message Carl. And then I'm like thinking, I'm like, what? Like what? Like it was a long time ago since I troubleshot this. So I was like, okay, let me SSH in. And then I was like, oh shit, I don't even know how to SSH in. Then I found the key, the private key in our Google Drive folder, and then I was like, okay, now I can do it. So I SSH in, and then I restart Nginx, and that doesn't work. So then finally I'm like, oh, I remember one time like 2 years ago, I think I restarted PHP FPM because it doesn't start when the server starts. And sure enough, that was it. And that's that's one of those custom configuration things. Like most servers, the PHP FPM process starts, so that fixed it.
Yeah, my site, like whenever I have to reboot my server, everything comes back up immediately.
Yeah. So it was. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm leaning towards saying that it makes sense to use something like Run Cloud, and then you've just got it right there. It's managed. You can handle so much of that, and it's automatically updated, rather than relying on Carl and I'm not, and I feel like a lot of the stuff he does that makes it perform faster also makes it slower in other ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, one of his one thing I've gone back and forth with him on is he's like he wants to basically drop any and all query parameters whenever the request comes to the server. I'm like, no, like that's really important. Like that's how I track everything. Like I kind of need that. And he's like, he just like truncate. He did it at one point. Like it's like any page that was cached, like request comes in and it chops off all the query parameters and it spits the page back. And I'm like,
well, sure, that'll make caching a lot easier because then you can just have static versions of the HTML pages. That's fine, but it won't be a dynamic website anymore. So that's my adventures with servers.
I've been evaluating if I should rebuy Social Media Marketing World ticket for next year. So it's still going on. I'm supposed to be there, but apparently I'm not. So that's a good evaluation point, right? So check this out, okay? Now, it's very hard to evaluate, but very easy to evaluate as well. So last year, first thing happened at Social Media Marketing World, I met Antonio, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And as a result of meeting Antonio, I hung out with him at Social Media Marketing World. We got to become more friendly. We got to become friends, right? And as a result, John, you and I spoke at Menfluential. That all became because of Social Media Marketing World.
I'm sorry, I'm still going to giggle every time you say that.
Why?
Menfluential is like it's the worst name ever.
I won't even talk about this affluential thing that John and I have seen recently. But then, second thing, right? One of my friends introduced me to the guy who runs PodFest, and he invited me to come speak at PodFest, which happened in Orlando last week. Then I met Jason Hartman at Andrew Warner's party last year. Jason Hartman has, he has a real estate investment network and show, and is a big-time real estate investor. And he invited me to come speak at his event to talk about, books. at his event that's coming up this weekend. So it's like all three of those things happened from being at the conference. Of course, I don't remember anything I learned from the conference, but but these connections were really good. And I can see that happening again this year. I ran into PT at Pat's meetup, and since then I've been running into him, and I was at his FinCon meetup last night, and got to got to know him, and I feel like he told me exactly what he would want me to speak on, so I need to submit a proposal for it. So it's going to probably work out. So it's pretty amazing. Like, even though I don't really care for the content, just the networking kind of makes up for itself. Like one event led to 3 different speaking gigs and 3 really awesome connections, like really great connections. Antonio, Jason, and Chris. These are all freaking 3 awesome people I got to meet because of the event. And same is happening right now. So I'm like, much as I hate to be at that conference, just twiddling around and not knowing what the fuck's happening because it's such a waste of time, I feel like sitting in those sessions, still worth.
So you gave up after you came back after making the connection, basically?
I just go there, hang out in the networking area, plaza, whatever. Sometimes I'll go to the sessions, but most of the times I'm just hanging out in the networking plaza, talking to people, and that's about it. So
yeah,
I feel
that's what I did at Podfest.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to one session, and you saw me there.
Yeah, yeah, you saw me speak there.
Yeah, exactly
at the session. Yeah, so like part of me is like, fuck, I don't want to go to another conference. I don't want to sign up for it. But shit, man, it's been pretty valuable. So hard to fight that, and especially because it is in San Diego.
Yeah,
it's really easy. Like, it doesn't basically suck up your whole entire week in travel time and all that crap, and prep time and all that crap.
I'd be going this year if it wasn't for going to MicroConf and going to Kansas City next week. So it's just too much. It would be too much, like, to be not working for that long. So
really,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I would have gone. I was going to get a ticket for it, but my daughter's 4th grade opera was on Wednesday night.
Oh,
yeah.
What is Josh's excuse?
I actually bought the virtual ticket though, because there was some content there that I wanted to get. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I have the virtual ticket. I mean, I have the whole thing.
Right.
So I am debating if I should buy for next year, because it's right now it's like really discounted, like $700 compared to $1,500 when you really buy it later on.
If you can speak there, you can get in free.
That's true. And I need to figure out an angle there, but that, I mean, I can always get the money back if I do get that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's not a problem. But I feel like if the conference is in San Diego, it's almost like it's a shoo-in for us. Like, we should just go. Anywhere else is where the question is, you should only go if you're speaking, more or less.
Yeah.
But if it's San Diego, you should just go, because the cost is not even, So I guess I'll buy it again, begrudgingly. Same story.
The other thing you could do too is you can always like offer to promote the conference on your podcast.
I mean, I can still become an affiliate and do that. And that probably would be more lucrative than just offer to promote.
Do they have an affiliate promotion for the?
I think they do have an affiliate.
Okay. Because the other thing, I mean, you can like say, hey, like you could get the conference organizer on your podcast talking about it. And then that would get you a seat plus a speaking engagement probably. But
well, yeah, I've heard social media marketing world has gotten really competitive for speaking.
Yeah.
Because of all the things, because of everything they have going on there. It's like one of the largest.
Do a workshop. Do your own thing. You could do your own thing. Meet some of your tribe. I mean, like promote it as like do a thing, do your own get together for your own audience and sign up as an affiliate and sell tickets for them to come hang out with you.
Meet up to yeah. That's not a bad idea. If I can get the I need to figure out what their affiliate thing is. But yeah, I think I'm gonna buy.
That's exactly the reaction you always want from your customer, right there.
It's such a complex emotion because I see the long-term value. Like when I look back at the last year, it was like tremendous value, but they're all like happenstance moments. There was nothing that could have been predicted, right?
Yeah.
It was just pure luck after luck after luck after luck. But the thing is, sitting in my office, I don't really create that luck.
Right.
That happens mostly at places like this where you run into people. So yeah, I should basically try to speak. I guess that's probably a much better way to look at it, rather than, even though I buy the ticket, I should try to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you gonna try and speak, John?
At Social Media Marketing World? Maybe. I don't submit abstracts.
Okay.
So people have to invite me to speak. And my reasoning behind that too is because then I ask them for money.
You're right. But
that's some sophisticated thinking there.
In this field, I mean, would I take? Okay, so let's reevaluate the whole thing. Would I rather have made $5,000 from a speaking gig at Social Media Marketing World and not made all these connections, or would I rather have made all these connections and not made $5,000 from the speaking?
The connections are probably worth more than the money, for
way
sure.
More than that.
I don't accept the money for speaking because I want the money. I accept the money for speaking because that makes it so that that's the level you're operating at. You know what I mean?
So it's authority. But at the same time, like, this industry is different from the programming industry. So it's almost like, well.
This industry, they actually pay you to speak.
I know, right?
There's so many desperate developers that will just whore themselves out to speak at a conference that they like. Most developer conferences are like, oh, what do you mean pay you? I'm like yeah, pay me.
I'm getting paid to go to a conference.
Which one?
NGConf. NGConf. It's the big Angular conference in Salt Lake.
Okay.
It's the one that the Angular core team goes out to every year, and it's like 1,500 people. Yeah.
You're speaking there?
What?
You're speaking there?
No. I decided to build a podcast booth like the one that Buzzsprout had at PodFest. And I'm going to throw it in the back of my truck and drive it up and set it up there. And I'm going to allow the other podcasts and my own podcast to record in it.
Nice.
And so they're actually paying a rental fee on the booth. And I'm going to use it as a proof of concept and then go to some of the other open source conferences and essentially have them pay my way out to those conferences. And, pay the shipping on the booth. And that way I can get out there and I can make those connections and it doesn't cost me what it costs me to travel.
Yeah. If people are the greatest life hack, then going to conferences, unfortunately, is the necessary evil.
Yep. But I also make a ton of contacts for the sponsorships too.
Exactly. Like
I just got a sponsorship renewal for enough money to pay the bills for a month and a half.
Nice.
And that was a renewal off of the last quarter, and that was somebody that I met at one of the Microsoft conferences. So that was a conference that I paid for food on. So yeah, that kind of thing, it really pays off.
Yeah. Are you guys going to any other conferences this year?
I am.
You going to NGConf?
Yeah, I'm going to NGConf. I'm going to MicroConf. I'll see John there.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
what?
going to Thrive, and then I'm doing Elliot Hulse's what is his
Man, he looks excited about that.
his camp, his meditation
I was
camp.
probably the only conference I feel like I didn't really get anything useful out of it compared to so many other conferences that every time I make good connections. Thrive might be the only one that I feel like I still don't see the value in whatever I did there 6 months ago.
I met Grant Cardone there. I met what's his name, the Think Media guy, Sean, and a few other, Jim Quick. Talked to him for quite a bit. So some pretty high profile people at the dinner, though, the speaker dinner. That was
And you were speaking at there?
No. I just pay. You can pay for tickets to go to the speaker dinner.
Dude, you should speak at Thrive. What the fuck?
I know.
Yeah. So did you submit?
it's my crowd too, with the real estate investment too. So, huh?
Did you figure out how to speak there?
I need to get like someone to recommend me, like connection there.
So you already know quite a few people there, or did you know any of the speakers from last year?
What's that? Did I know any of the speakers?
That's probably the best connection.
Oh, I met Tom Bilyeu there too, and then ended up getting him on my YouTube channel. I'm trying to think. I have to think if I know any of the speakers. I'll have to look and see if I know the ones from this year. But
yeah, if going to conferences is good, speaking there is connect better.
Well, positioning is the thing that makes the biggest difference, right? It's like, it's not just the networking, it's not just going to the conference, it's how you're coming in, right? If you're coming in as a speaker, or especially as a keynote speaker. So that's what I started doing for all the developer conferences, was I said, okay, I'm not going to the conference to speak unless I'm the keynote speaker. And so I got a couple of keynote speaking gigs, and those paid well. Those were like $10,000 gigs,
right?
And then that's the best position that you could possibly come in, right?
Yeah, they definitely pay for keynote speakers. Like I've spoken at some of the other conferences that offer a speaker. I can't remember what they call it, but they give you a check for a few $100s. I mean, the ones that I've done that for, it's basically enough to cover your hotel. I was still out the money for my airfare. I mean, it was worth it, but it was,
We should basically this episode should go down as the ultimate conference ninja hacking blog post. If like how to get speaking, how to become a speaker, how to hack the conference and get invited to speak at 10 other conferences and da.
The thing is, though, see, with the speaking to you, I think most people don't, like, they have the wrong idea. Most people want to speak at conferences because they think that they're going to reach a wide audience. And that's not what you're doing. What you're doing is you're elevating yourself to the other high level people and making those connections. That's because you're not like, that's why I stopped doing a lot of this speaking that I was doing too, was because I was like, okay, I'm speaking to like what, 500 people at the most, and how many of those like people are even gonna, I had all these complicated systems to get them to sign up to my email list, and I'm like, even if I get 10% of those 50 people, I'm gonna go do all this to get 50 people on an email list. Like, it's stupid. Like, there's nothing, you're not getting, like, it's much better to get on a podcast, right, to someone's podcast where there's thousands of listeners, right, and it lives on. Or to make a YouTube video or something like that, you get a much better reach, or even just write a damn blog post.
Well, unless you have a really high customer value, that's like if you're a consultant or something, and you can make 10 or 20K off of one person, then getting in front of 200 people who've all paid $5,000 and gotten on a plane and flown halfway around the world, that's actually means something. But if you're like mass market, more like that kind of, it's not worth it.
Or
Yeah,
if
I
you're
agree.
selling,
If you have a low end product, it's not really like you're not gonna get any value from the dollars, or like from any kind of sale from that, but you'll get a ton of value from the connections.
Yeah, the value proposition for me is kind of what I'm reversing on there, because I'm going as a podcaster. I'm working with the conference organizer so that I can meet those high level people,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to try and schedule time in the podcast booth with the speakers, with the organizers, and you kind of get the idea. And then the flip side of it is then I come home with the referrals that I want, which are again these high level people to come on the show,
yeah.
outside of the conference, and I get to see who's spending money to market to developers at conferences.
So my new business idea is I'm starting a business and I'm going to teach people. I'm going to sell courses on how to use ClickFunnels to sell ClickFunnels. It's the ultimate hack. I'm going to show you how to create a ClickFunnels funnel in ClickFunnels to sell ClickFunnels.
How about you go to a conference to speak about how to speak at conferences so you can get more conference gigs?
Or go to a conference to speak about how to speak at conferences about how to speak at conferences.
That's meta enough. The first what Manny said isn't meta enough. There's plenty of people that speak about how to speak at conferences.
No,
you got to speak about how to get paid to speak about how to speak about conferences. Speak at conferences. That's what.
Yeah, you want to go out and coach coaches that coach coaches that coach coaches.
Exactly. I'm the coach of the coachers.
That is the only way to do it. But I feel like, John, you should do a video on this topic of hacking the conference circuits and like how to basically dominate the conference circuits and how to get the most value from conferences in terms of all of these things that we're talking about here. Because there is ton. Like I feel like I should do one too, just because of whatever experience I've had from limited experience I've had. It's very interesting how it all works and how positioning changes everything.
Yeah,
positioning is like the ultimate. It's like the meta game of marketing. And so it's marketing. Like sales is the lowest form of. I mean, sales is awesome, but still, when you're selling, it's nowhere as close to when you're just marketing. But marketing by itself is nowhere as good when you are positioned. Mm-hmm. If you're positioned, you don't need marketing. Right?
Yeah. It's basically like the leverage. I mean, positioning is the same thing almost as product, right? It's like the better the product is. It's like that you need less. The sales conversion processes are in the marketing. I was just had a guy that I was coaching, and he was saying that looks are the only thing that matters, right? And I was like, looks and money and status are like product. And then I was like, going out and like having some skill like with women is like sales conversion process. And opening, going and talking to women is marketing. And it's like, I was like, basically like if your product is really, really good, you need less of the other two. Like you don't have to reach as many people for marketing. You don't have to have as good of a sales process. But if your product is shit, and if your product is total shit, it doesn't matter how good your marketing or sales is, you're just not going to have anything happen. And so it's the same thing here. Positioning is basically the product itself, like, because then they're buying you, and that's the product issue. And so you based on that, you can make it so that the sales are not as, it's not as important to have that as good of a sales process, right? I don't have to sell you frozen or
I feel like it's not even marketing, right? The ultimate marketing is there's no marketing.
Yeah.
So positioning basically voids the need for marketing and sales. Ultimate sales is no need for sales. Ultimate sales capacity is we don't need to sell because people come to us.
So Tesla and Apple, right? This is the perfect example, right? They don't need I mean, I guess they,
Tesla more than Apple. Apple
Yeah.
does pretty large, but Tesla doesn't do shit on marketing.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually reading the book Positioning right now.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, it's good. It's definitely
Oh
worth.
yeah, I'll read.
Yeah, it's one of the classic. It's actually really funny because I think it was published in like 1980, and I'm going through the audiobook, and they haven't updated it. So they're like talking about they were talking about how the Pennsylvania Railroad Company was flying high, and now American Airlines has like surpassed them, and I'm like, all right, well that's that's gone now too. So it's funny.
I tried to.
But yeah, it's all very. I mean, it's really, 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 really solid. And yeah, one thing they were saying is that if you are the market leader, then you end up with it's something like a 2-to-1 or 5-to-3 ratio of sales. So you are you have half the market. If you're number one, you have half the market, and then no one else can catch you. Once you hit that point, it's virtually impossible to beat you until you beat yourself.
Yeah.
What's that?
Until you blow it.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, yep. Yeah, lots of really good stuff in that. One thing they're talking about too is the idea of that it's usually a bad idea, or often a bad idea, to try to launch more products under your house name. So
what?
Under the house name. So the example would be one of the examples was Dial. So Dial was I don't know if it was a soap or a deodorant or what first, but it was like a deodorant soap. Then they launched Dial deodorant. And actually what ends up happening is you have the number one product in a category, and then you launch something else and you're the number 5 product in that category. You're never going to be number one, and you drag down the one that is number one.
Yep.
So it's better. So Procter and Gamble does is they have all these independent brands where they launch a new brand with the naming's really important. You launch the new brand, and you don't, and that way they're independent of each other. They don't kill each other. If it doesn't fly, you can kill it.
Yeah.
There's also an interesting section about loser names. It's a really good book. Everybody should read it. But he talks about how there are. He goes through all the people that have won the presidency up until from 1900 to 1980, and there was nobody with a loser name. And loser names were Edsel and Alfred, and there was only one president who had a loser name, and that was Herbert Hoover. And the guy he beat also had a loser name, and then he was beaten by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who did not have a loser name. And there was also, they did a test that was really interesting where they gave teachers the same papers with loser names and not loser names. So the not loser names were Mike and John, and the loser names were Albert and they averaged a whole letter grade lower.
Oh wow.
Where does Gertrude stand?
Gertrude would definitely be a loser name. Yeah.
And what about Bertha?
Definitely, I think
I
that
met
would be
the hottest girl in town last night. Her name was Gertrude. No, her name was Bertha.
Well, she's playing on hard mode, so
Yeah, apparently.
There you go.
Oh my god, those names do not fly.
No.
Well, I just
Really good book.
Huh? Yeah.
I started reading.
I should buy the ticket, is what you're saying. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got that one on May.
What'd you think? Think?
I'm not done with it yet, but it's good so far. It's pretty quick read. Just the whole point of the book.
Oh yeah, I've read that. That's I went to Ireland with that guy.
What's that?
I went to Ireland with that guy.
Oh, you did?
Last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So he wrote the flight back, is it?
No, it wasn't. He'd already written it. But yeah, no, he's pretty cool. He's worked with some major. I mean, he's worked with I forget the companies, but seriously, the Franklin Mint, kind of that level of
Agora.
I'm not sure if he's worked with Agora or not, but that level of of company, yeah.
It keeps referring to some big financial. Maybe I'm not. So I just made the connection. Agora, maybe not.
But no, it makes sense. The retention point idea is a really good concept because I think a lot of people are measuring churn rates, and the thing is, what he was talking about reaching this point where they basically become a lifetime customer. Seems like the key, because then it's not like, oh, we have a 3-month or 6-month churn rate. It's like, no, we get like, the customers that we get, it just gets better and better over time as you get more of those people. So that makes sense.
Yes, very good book.
What were your key takeaways from it?
Me? I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah. What about you, Josh? Anything you remember?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that I took away from, well, a couple of things. So one was, I mean, basically, he's very much on board with like, okay, retention is not an easy sell. It's worth it. Or continuity is not is difficult to do, and you really have to like knock people's socks off early on.
Yeah,
like you have to like, because as soon as they get that, I think he calls it the credit card moment of truth. It's like every time that your name shows up on their credit card statement, they're thinking, am I really getting value out of this? And you've got to like blow their mind right out of the gate, because if you don't, then their attention is going to fade pretty quickly.
Yeah,
their interest level is going to fade, and you have to have already made a big impression by that point, and you want to deliver like a full year's worth of value in the first 7 days, or even shorter if you can. So that was, and then he basically walks you through how to architect that.
One of the things I was.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, one of the things I learned was like, do not deliver too much content. Like too much content can be detrimental to the whole thing.
Right.
Just enough, but
high value.
High value, and always be thinking of the end results for the customer rather than the content itself.
Right.
Right.
Emphasizing the end result, the vision, the aspiration, rather than the content.
Yep.
Right? Because that's what we end up doing a lot of times. We think, okay, content is what we're delivering, but it's the aspiration we're delivering, and whatever content that comes with it to deliver that aspiration is valuable.
Right. And if they don't get the result, then they're not likely to stick around.
Yeah.
And too much can be bad.
Yep.
You want them chasing more, right? It's like to be looking forward to what's coming out next month. So
too much can be overwhelming, and people will unsubscribe just because they can't.
Yeah, there's a guilt factor where it's like, I'm not consuming this.
Yeah, we could probably even, Josh, I was thinking about this as I was going through the book, is like it's for email, right? I mean, for all of us, right? Like you can almost treat someone subscribing to your email list as them joining your membership, right? Like as your free membership, right? And if you think about retention point in the same way, and what you send them and delivering extreme value up front, right? Then because it's essentially the same thing, because at the point, like, when you send your first email to someone who joins your list, it's usually going to be like, around a 70% open rate, right? That's like where you start. Right. And in that first email or first couple of emails, you have the chance to create a member that will open up all of your emails for life, or someone who doesn't. Like they're going to make that decision, pretty quickly. And so, you can basically apply all those same principles. And then, because once you have them as an email opener, now you've got, you just increase your reach by quite a bit. So,
yeah, I think I should get going now. I missed the morning keynotes. I missed the next presentation.
Manny, the energy is it's just flowing out of you right now.
it's very infectious. I can see it.
Manny's like, I feel like Manny's like, yeah, I missed my morning appendicitis appointment, so I probably should go and reschedule for now because it feels like it's about to burst. And
yeah. Okay, so I will go and just say that my thought is that people are the greatest life hack. So even if I have to begrudgingly do it, I just fucking do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that what you tell people when you walk up to them? Hi, I'm Manny. You're my life hack.
I love you, man. I love you.
I love you too. And that's how they become my lifelong friends.
That's right.
And they're like, dude, that's exactly what I want you to come and speak about at the next conference. Guys, talk to you next week.
All right.
All
see
right.
ya.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so I tested also. I've been testing Mautic, the email marketing, like the self-hosted stuff. It's pretty good. Like it's definitely way more powerful than Drip or ConvertKit or any of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just like, I mean, it's self-hosted, right? So you use something like, I hooked it up to SendGrid and got a SendGrid account to test it out. There's definitely some pros and cons. I mean, one of the things that you have to do is you have to run cron jobs in order to actually like process the data on the server. So like every 5 minutes or so, it'll update triggers and update, which is, you know, any kind of system. I'm sure Drip and ConvertKit are doing that behind the scenes. But it's sort of a mixed bag, though. I've got some idea. Like it definitely is different, right? The way that it's configured, because I believe that it was initially created for more in the mind of like transactional emails and also like sales leads type of stuff, not necessarily direct response marketing, although it's got all the stuff you would need for that. But I sent a bunch of emails. I sent a test to the Bulldog Mindset list of like 2,700 people through SendGrid, and I ended up getting like, let me see what it was. I think it was like 2,000 something deliveries. It wasn't. There was a lot that weren't delivered, and part of it.
Well,
so there's.
It's it's normal to have about 80% deliverability.
Just
At
in
just
Drip,
from
you
what
would
I've
say
read.
too? Really?
Yeah,
80%?
well, yeah, that's what, at least if you read up on like how many emails get vaporized by the ESPs, it seems to be pretty consistent. Like I see the number 80% get through.
Okay.
In a lot of places. So
it's showing me at 85.23% deliverability then delivered.
So that's about, that seems about, let me see if I can find one of those articles. But yeah, I seem to.
But it shows my open at 11.39%, which is pretty shitty. It only shows 300 opens and then 2.62% clicks. So I'm guessing those opens are, so the mixed blessing here is with this, I mean, with SendGrid, I can go in and I can get like all the data, right? So I can see exactly what happened. Like I can click blocks and I can see exactly what domains block the emails and what their response message was. So I can go and fix those things and I know exactly what's happening. Whereas if you send an email with Drip or ConvertKit or one of those guys, you don't have any idea. They don't tell you like, you know, what the server said and if it made it or not. So that's you know, that's a plus. But and part of it was because it's like using their IP pool. So I'm sure this is a low quality IP. You can get a dedicated IP. But
yeah, John, here's an interesting article. But they ranked, I don't know how accurate this is, but they ranked a bunch of different services by deliverability. And they had ActiveCampaign at like 95%, and MailChimp, ConvertKit and MailChimp, they had it at 81%. Constant Contact was 90. I don't see Infusionsoft or Drip on here. Yeah, for whatever reason. But yeah, so Aweber is at 75%. So I mean, that's not like 85% deliverability is not awful. It's kind of average.
Okay.
And then they show where they inbox, like how many of them hit the inbox. And MailChimp, oh wow, 63% the main inbox.
Ouch.
17% spam missing. Yeah, the missing is one of the big factors. That's where like benchmark missing.
Yeah.
15%.
Yeah.
So that's they just never. I just had somebody email me, and she signed up. She opened emails, but she hasn't gotten the first 7 or so emails that go out from my Joshua Earl site. She only got the last one, and she emailed me and she's like, "Can you resend the others?" And I can see they went out, and I can see that she opened the most recent one, but she didn't get the others. So just kind of goes with the territory.
So I wonder if ActiveCampaign is worth looking into based on that.
I mean, I had a client that was on ActiveCampaign, and they switched off of it for Infusionsoft because they were having deliverability issues. So, I mean, I think it's just kind of like whatever you're with,
Yeah.
You get frustrated with it. But
yeah, I'm not sure. I still want to do a little bit more testing with Mautic, but I'm sort of leaning back now towards just sticking with Drip. I mean, part of it too is when I went and looked at the pricing, like I showed you, Josh, we're getting a decent discount on Drip for like we're grandfathered in.
Especially since their pricing went up.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, I mentioned this yesterday, I think, but you mentioned the IP pool. What I've been told, so I talked to Drip's deliverability guys about this, and they basically were like, unless you're sending like multiple millions of emails per day, you don't want your own IP because you don't exist. Like the IP, there needs to be a certain level of traffic coming from the IPs for them to be considered warm. And actually having your own IP, it doesn't exist as far as Google is concerned, because it's just the volume is so low. So I haven't like tried to validate that from anyone else, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't think that's true, because if you look at companies like SendGrid that have dedicated IPs and a lot of their email sending is transactional emails, when you're sending transactional emails, you expect 100% deliverability or pretty damn close to that. And and if
but
you think about it,
they might be routing all that through a set of really clean transactional IP address.
You get a dedicated IP, and your dedicated IP builds up your domain reputation. So that's why, like, and in fact, in SendGrid's documentation, they say that if you're sending transactional and marketing emails, you should actually use 2 dedicated IPs, one, and don't cross the streams. And they said to use 1 dedicated IP for transactional and 1 for marketing. This way that your transactional has is pretty much 100% deliverability, because you never want to not deliver a transactional email, but the marketing ones can hurt your your deliverability. So I don't know.
Here's a couple. I'll send a couple articles here. Here's one from Postmarked, and then one from there's also one from SendGrid about them. Let me see this one. This was the SendGrid warming up an IP address. Let's see, I'm curious what they say. Might just be that the volume's a lot lower than I think. They do want you to warm it up.
Yeah, it does.
It's not.
Yeah, if you just start sending a bunch of emails from a new IP,
right.
It's like a test. The more that you send and you don't get spam complaints, the more that they're sure you're not a spammer.
Right. Interesting.
It's really hard to trust any of this shit because there's so many competitors, and then like even articles, like it's like who wrote the article, and
they all have something to sell.
Yeah, well, and what affiliate link did they have? Like, which one are they pushing? Like, it's a pain. That's why I was like, if we're doing something like Mautic and having your own thing, I don't know. I want to look at it some more. Like the workflows. One thing that kills me about the workflows in Drip, which I just felt the pain of yesterday, was I was trying to move a node. There's no moving of
Yeah,
nodes.
no.
None of that shit. Like, because
No.
did you see the one, Josh? I figured it out, right? I had to use a split.
split it.
Because
Okay.
when you send them to a campaign, it doesn't.
It pauses.
Yeah.
They stop in that. Yep.
So I use a split. So I send them to the campaign to start the campaign, and then I also do a split that has to wait 12 hours because now I know they're on the campaign, and so now I'm waiting to send the retry emails, and then it rejoins. But when I tried to make that change, I had to basically like reconstruct the entire workflow because there was no way to like move the nodes.
No, there's not, and there's the only way to do it is to like. You can delete everybody. Well, once somebody's in the workflow, you're screwed too. So you have to like
pause it,
remove. You have to pause it and then manually run bulk actions to remove everyone from each step.
Yep, that's what I did.
And then you can delete it. And it doesn't even work all the time because usually there's caching and stuff. So it might take several hours for them to acknowledge that the people are actually no longer on that step. Yeah.
One other one that makes me a little bit crazy is that a lot of what I'm doing is time-based, right? So if I have a sponsorship or something like that, where, I want to do a promotional email for the sponsor, but I only want it to run while the sponsorship is active. For me, I'm like, okay, so if it's after this date and before this date, right, which is when the sponsorship is active, then run through the sponsorship workflow in this way. Otherwise, skip this one because it's not active anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't have any kind of date-based workflow options, decision points. And that would be super nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what you can do with Mautic is you can do anything you want, basically, right? So you can say, okay, on this date, send this email, hard coded 3 days from this date, or you can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So that is kind of a benefit of using Mautic.
But I don't want to maintain my own setup of another system.
It's pretty easy, like I said, that's why I was looking into using RunCloud.
Yeah.
And it's super speedy in the reporting, but it is more stuff to learn. And
I'll probably look at it, but it's unless it gives me a major win, it's way down my list.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I've still got to like process it and think about it. I also was looking at I like the way you've got the stuff. Like I don't know if you saw, Josh, but I set up the workflow just like yours with the form for the thing, and it's kind of nice the way you've got it set up where you just drop them onto the other workflows and they get tagged and it goes through that whole processing and the splitting. So it's kind of nice how that works.
I put a lot of thought into that.
Yeah.
Trying to make it so it was very minimal to maintain, not super complex to maintain.
Yeah, and it looks like it works pretty damn good because I looked at a bunch of people that came through and they all got the tagging I expected, and so it might be worth just staying with Drip, and we'll have to see.
It's not that. The pricing is not that bad for us. It's probably it's like $400 or $500 a month, unless we go way over on our email send quota.
Yeah, so. And it doesn't make sense to send daily emails. To do the promotions makes sense, but I think we can simplify things down a lot eventually with it. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, I've got something else I want to bring up if we've exhausted this particular area. So I've been working through, we've talked a whole bunch about the freedom and the podcast stuff and the podcast processes and things like that. And I'm getting really close to being done as far as the bulk of writing those processes out and things. And I decided that I essentially want to get things to the point where if I disappear for a month, things will run without me.
Right.
And so I'm trying to figure out what all these things mean and what I need to do over the next 3 months in order to get there, because I think I can get there over the next 3 months. And so yeah, I think the one of the major things, the major pain points, is just making sure that the hosts show up and know how to host the podcast without me. And that generally works fine, but it doesn't always work fine. So I need to refine that a little bit. One thing that I've been thinking about is actually setting up like almost like a course for the hosts, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so it would
Like
just
a
walk
training.
Yeah, and so it
I'll
would
be right back.
I'm just trying to decide if that makes sense, and I'm also trying to decide if I put that together, if I should just kind of do that for all the people on my teams, and then if I do that, is that a product, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think how different, how much you've got most of the processes documented, right? So the course would be, what's the value add on the course for your hosts? Like, is it just more hand-holding as they go through what you've put together?
So essentially it would be, here's how you start the calls, which at this point we're using Zoom, so it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you just join the call and it starts recording. And then, how to do guest and host intros. The other thing, though, is I keep going back and forth on this because as I get Podwrench together and I build the software that gives them all this information,
right?
Then I can just set the software up so that it just essentially walks them through it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the right way to go long term.
But I'm wondering if I could, yeah, I agree with you. But in the short term, I mean, I could sit down and record videos for a day, and then they'd have everything they needed. And then,
does that give you anything? Is that faster than doing it all in writing? Is that kind of the
so it's
motivation?
all written down at this point. I could just, yeah, and I plan on giving them that in writing bit.
Right. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sold on the video side of things because doing it makes it harder to update. It is nicer to consume the first time through, but not so much the second time through. So
that's
like
true.
For reference, it's not as useful. So you kind of need both. Like it would need to be
for familiarity. It'd be nice because they've seen it.
Yeah. Right. Right. I mean, if there might be pieces of it where it makes sense to do a video.
Yeah.
But versus, because it makes it more visual. But
yeah, I've been trying to make it as automatic as possible, though.
Right.
So yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think I'm probably going to punt on the videos and just make sure that it's well documented in writing. Because if it is well documented in writing, the other thing is that they can, when they start the call, they can just click on the instructions and just follow them, right?
Yeah, and you can also automate it. Like there's clunky ways to automate it too, where it's like, okay, if you get a piece in the Podwrench built where like the scheduling's now done through the software, well, now you can send an email that says, hey, open this Google Doc and do these steps, right? And that's like your how to start the call automation initially, and then you can make that more fancy.
Yeah, I like that. The other thing is, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I mean, what I kind of want to build in Podwrench, I could actually put into essentially a template file in Google Drive, because that's where we're doing all the prep anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so if people want to update, like their introduction or, other information that goes into the show notes or anything, they could just do that in that template if they're a host.
Right.
So I'm kind of digging that. But yeah, I've decided that a lot of this is really just doubling down at this point on Podwrench, because most of the rest of the stuff has gotten routine, right? Like the releases. It's funny because people ask me about releases on any of the shows now, and I'm like, I'll have my team get with you on that. Right? Because I just don't know. I know what we recorded when I was there, but
Right.
the rest of it, I don't. So yeah. But yeah, so Podwrench is kind of where I'm doubling down. I'm just trying to figure out what else I need to cover to get to that point where, if I disappeared for a month, it'd be okay.
Did you read the book called the Michael Michaelowicz book, the new one? Dang, I can't remember the name of it now. Do you know what it is, Josh? He's the guy that wrote the
Pumpkin Plan. He wrote
Profit First.
Profit First. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
His new book is exactly what you're asking. Let me
Clockwork?
see. Clockwork. Yes, Clockwork. He's got a plan for you to do that, like how to exactly plan it and test it, and yeah, it's a really good book.
The whole plan consists of go to Expedia.com, buy a ticket for Costa Rica, disappear for a month, see what breaks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just keep looking at it and thinking, okay, what if I just took August off? And what it boils down to is, if I decide to, if I get everything working the way that I want it to, then I can pursue some of these other things that John keeps telling me are getting me distracted. Right.
No, you can keep on expanding your podcast empire.
That too, but I want that to become pretty much automatic as well.
Well,
right?
That will never become automatic.
No, not entirely, but where it gets to the point where it's like, okay, we're going to start a new show. So I go find hosts, and then my team goes and sets everything up. Right?
Yeah.
That kind of automatic.
Yeah. I mean, that can be, I mean, once you can have the revenue to hire a professional CEO and they can run and they can do the biz dev stuff. But you need to just be getting more podcasts up.
I agree.
For a long time until you're,
I agree with that too, actually. I mean, if we have an offering of podcasts about, pretty much all the topics that programmers are going to want, then we become, then it becomes that positioning thing, right? That Manny was talking about, where we're not, the marketing is that we have a podcast about whatever it is that you care about.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you want to reach developers, you come talk to us because we reach developers.
Yeah. And you need to really strike right now. I mean, right now the podcast iron is hot as hell, right?
Yeah.
People are like podcast is making a big resurgence. Everyone's like, it's being talked about in mainstream media, right? Like podcast is popular topic right now. So, I mean, I would even you should be thinking about obviously getting more developer podcasts out, but finding the next concentric circle where there just be IT related podcasts. And then, and then from there, building out, because there's a huge opportunity here.
That's true.
And you're positioned,
Yeah. If you're going to do that, I would look at, either concentric circles or right angle.
Right. Things that are orthogonal but related.
Well, or maybe not even related, but they overlap. So what you really have right now that is great is that you've got a market that has some money, right? So you want to. So when we were at Traffic and Conversion, remember John Perry Belcher was talking about Survival Life, and then the next site they launched was it the makeup site or was it the crafting site? It was either makeup or DIY crafting. And it was like this weird overlap, but these people that were really into the survival prepper stuff were also really into makeup. And I think it made sense because it's a lot of the stereotype. I think it's a lot of Southern people. And, with Southern women are a lot more into makeup than Northern women are, from what I understand. So, so it worked. So they were able to just basically launch right off of that. And it wasn't like an obvious thing.
Right.
But there was that, that huge. So for you, it could be, I don't know, it could be like, I don't know, science fiction or something, like there could be something similar to that where it's
that would be fun.
Like
or video game podcasts or
exactly. Yeah.
or
Where there's like
movie.
a big overlap in audiences, but
Yeah.
but also
Right,
like
but
a
they're
lot
not-
of potential for growth, because the developer market, the advantage of it is that it's small, nichey, and people have money.
Yeah.
The disadvantage is that it's small and nichey.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that'd be interesting. The video game podcasts.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's, I mean, seriously, that's what you need to focus on is
Right.
like,
I agree.
Because you're in the position, like I said, it's become mainstream, a lot more mainstream than ever before. And the position you're in to dominate this, where other people can't do this, right? If someone says, "Oh, I want to create a podcast network and build a bunch of podcasts," they have no ability to do that. Like
Right.
you're already, like you have all of the infrastructure, you've got the
Yeah.
audience that will bleed over. Like there's so many advantages that you have that make it worth it for you. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So I think where I'm going to double down then is creating more shows and building out Podwrench
yeah,
so that I can get
Yeah.
I can get the automation at scale.
One thing too, I had a thought is like anytime you have this like voice in your head saying, "I need to make a course for podcasters on," build it into Podwrench instead.
Oh,
Like, right? Okay, so that's your little signal. Like, oh, because I was thinking about this
that would be
podcasting.
interesting. No.
Because-
I love this.
Okay, because here's what I was thinking. So like, you're like, all right, well, how do I get the should I make a course about how to, basically what you were asking was, should I make a course and try to sell a course about how to start a podcast network? And the answer is no, because there's not going to be that many people that are going to want to actually try to do that, right? Like there might be, it's going to be really hard to find those people. There's tons of people who want to start a podcast, but not a ton of people that want to start a podcast network. But if you build it into Podwrench, there are enough people who have podcasts who would be like Pat Flynn might be interested in like starting a couple of spin-off shows. And if you've got this all built into Podwrench, that makes it that much more that much more compelling to them.
Right. I like it because then it's not even the technical details of here's how you start your spin-off show using Podwrench, but it's, here's the process for successfully launching a spin-off show. And then, incidental to that is, and here's how you do it with Podwrench.
Right.
And so then it's success content that just comes with the subscription. It makes it extremely valuable. The other thing that I have thought about as well, and this is a way down the road thing for Podwrench, but a few years ago, I wound up having lunch with a guy who ran a company called Visible Divers.
Okay. Visible divers? Like people with masks going down underwater?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So scuba. And then he started another company that was basically, anyway, what his did is it was software for dive shops.
Okay.
And so it ran their point of sales and things like that, but it also connected to their inventory, and it provided them with all of the equipment that they needed. So if they needed to order something, they could order it right there in the app. And so he worked with all the vendors, and so it could also conceivably work with the equipment vendors and podcast vendors and stuff like that. And allow people to buy their equipment through it as well.
Right.
And then get my sales fee on that.
Nice.
And so then it'd be like an all-in-one place where it's like, my microphone broke down. Well, crap. Or I'm traveling and I forgot my, whatever microphone I travel with. Yeah. And so it's like, you can just get in and boom, have it sent to you wherever you are. But I think the software as a service and the training, I think you're right. I think I need to build that into there.
Podwrench.
Yep. Yeah, this is your thing. yeah, you go down this road, I mean, you have very big potential of building something huge, right? If you go down the road of selling courses to developers and shit like that, it's just,
Well, I
it's
think
not going to be worth
podcasting
it.
is going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
And I think at some point it's just going to explode. It's going to become, you know, a media that people look at the same way they kind of look at TV or radio. The difference is that you can get the small guys in there who hit a niche that, you know, so it's like, this doesn't have mass market appeal, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. All right. Well, then, so the next 3 months, then what I'm going to be working on is, I mean, streamlining the podcast stuff still is what I'm going to be doing. But for the most part, I mean, that's done. So I just need to put some finishing touches on that and kind of polish it up a little bit. But it doesn't have to be perfect. And currently it's very, very workable. So, yeah. So my focus is going to be on Podwrench and on starting new shows. So over the next 3 months, I think I'm going to start 6 shows is what I'm going to commit to.
I like it.
And I already have a couple in the works, so I just need to turn the crank on those and then get the other ones going. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's why I was asking, because I was trying to figure out, okay, what exactly does this look like, and where do I need to, you know, which wheels do I need to get turning? And I was having trouble getting real clarity on that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Should we do our thoughts for the week and commitments?
I'll go, I guess. Commitment for next week, I'm still working on this Josh Duty affiliate offer, and I'll be running that next week. So that's going to be, got to get the sales page all finished up for that, and the emails all written and scheduled. And then my
Josh
thought
usually goes to Microconf, so we'll probably see him this week.
Wait, what? Oh, Josh Duty, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He was there last year.
Yeah. Yeah. So my thought was, so again, from that book Positioning, there was a passage in there that I really liked that, especially developers, but a lot of people have this really sinister view of marketing and advertising. It's like manipulation. And he talks about, so he says, like, a lot of people think that marketing is a sledgehammer that you use to like bludgeon your customers into doing what you want. And it's actually more like a light fog. Mm-hmm. And you just kind of like, it makes very little impression on people. And you can't really twist people's arm like people think you can. And that's why the positioning thing is so important, because if you're just first in their mind, then that's that's really all you need to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Brand marketing.
No, well, that's like a whole discussion.
If you can do it, if you have the budget, if you can.
No, I am 100% in favor of what Apple did, which is build a brand through direct marketing. They built a powerful brand through direct marketing.
Through direct marketing, yes. If you look at the first 10 to 15 years or longer, Steve Jobs, Steve Jobs, mail order.
They built a, I think it was $3 or $5 billion business, and went public on the back entirely of direct marketing.
That's
And Steve Jobs had to be arm twisted. This is where like the whole start with why. I think I've ranted about this before. That whole start with why TED Talk is based on fiction, and it drives me insane. Apple did what he says Apple doesn't do is exactly what Apple did. Apple did not start with why. They started with what.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they built a really successful computer company. And then eventually Steve Jobs got his arm twisted by a bunch of Madison Avenue agencies and started doing the brand advertising. And that worked for them because they had critical mass already.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, building a brand, building the name recognition is really powerful. I would not argue with that. I just the way that you do it has to be very surgical. So.
Yeah, no, that's true. That makes a lot of sense. And
And
a lot of times,
the big problem with brand advertising is historically it's been very, it's very wasteful.
Yeah,
So.
a lot of times the big companies that are doing it too are just doing it to keep their position,
Exactly.
not to grow their position. Because it's like
100%.
if you stop seeing Coke ads, you're gonna think what happened to Coke. Like it's like
right, and they don't need much. They don't need as much to keep the wheels turning.
Right.
He uses the analogy of the airplane, like getting the Boeing 747 off the runway takes a lot of fuel, and then you can, when you're at 30,000 feet, you can dial back and kind of glide, and you just need some, you need some additional push from the engines, but it's that takeoff point. If you're just like, leaking fuel everywhere on takeoff, like you're never going to make it. So.
Yeah, I mean, all they're really looking for is for you, like McDonald's, you drive down the street and you're hungry. And so you know what you're going to get if you stop there. Or, Coke, same thing, right? You walk into the store and you're thirsty. So you walk up to the soda fountain or walk by the, the drink aisle, and you know what you're going to get out of it. And that's all they need is just to maintain that familiarity. So you look at it and go, uh-huh.
Yep. And the positioning book has a ton of examples of failed brand companies that tried to launch a brand with brand advertising and completely just utterly failed.
Yeah.
Even big companies. So
yep.
End of rant.
Let's see. My commitment was to get the interview cake funnel up, and I did. It is done. It's running. I've got a workflow and drip.
Did you get is all the traffic going to it now?
All the traffic from that page. It's all going through one form, and then that form it triggers a workflow. And so, and
it has the you're using the little lead magnet.
Which one? I've got both two lead magnets on there. One that's the content unlock. Right, or the content lock, and then one of them that is the pop-up on that page. So everything that comes to that page is going through this course, and it looks like it's working. I'm looking at the workflow and seeing where people are in the workflow, and it looks. We'll see what happens after the wait 12 hours. But the videos are up. It's all in ClickFunnels, and the last video Rodrigo edited today, and it looks good. It's a good. You should check out the sales pitch on the last video, Josh. I think you'll like it. It's pretty solid. I think Rodrigo put it in the products or the thing. You can see the link there. But yeah, I think we're going to get pretty good conversions on that if we can get people to the last video. But it might be, if this works, it can just keep on tweaking it and making it better and better. But yeah, so I got that done. And then my commitment for next week is none because I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be traveling. So there's really nothing to commit to. But yeah. And then my thought for the week is don't do things the same way, the same format. Create new formats by mashing formats together, right? So I was thinking about this a lot today, just this week with doing YouTube videos. I changed my whole interview format, so I just did a couple of these this week, and it works so much better. Instead of interviewing people on my YouTube channel and saying, "Okay, this is so and so from this," where it's just like from the beginning, it just seems like a pitch anyway, because you're usually pitching something. And people if they don't know the person, they don't care, right? It's better to like do something unique. So what I started doing was just making all these interviews. Like, I did the one with Josh Duty, and it was like the 5 salary negotiation mistakes developers are making, right? And not only is that a much more interesting topic, but it just gave us a ton to talk about, right? We filled up an hour easily of just solid value the whole
Right.
time, right? And we went back and forth on a bunch of stuff, and so that's awesome. And it doesn't seem very pitchy at all. And then by the end, the idea is that a lot of people are going to want to buy because they're interested, because they just got a bunch of value. A lot of times when I interview people, they just start pitching their stuff when they're answering the questions, and I'm like, no, do not pitch. You don't need to pitch. This is not we just want people to like you and to like what you're saying, and they'll go and buy the thing. At the end, we can tell them where to find it, and we don't even need to pitch it if we position you correctly, right? So I did this also this week with a couple of other interviews I had. One on Bulldog Mindset for these nootropics that I'm using that I'm liking. And it just works out better. And I kind of got the idea too from, there's a really popular YouTube like interview, and they're interviewing like super high profile people. It's called something like Hot Bites or something like that, or Hot. And they basically get celebrities and they go and they're eating hot wings. And they get hotter and hotter, right? So it's like a mash of formats, right? Like
it's like cayenne waterboarding with cayenne pepper.
Yeah.
Tell me the truth. Nope. All right, bring out the really hot ones. Atomic.
Yeah, so everyone's doing interviews and everyone's doing, so to create, if you can take two formats and mash them together or have some kind of unique spin, it's a good way to get noticed.
Yeah. Nice. So my thought is basically going to be, I guess to a certain degree, stay in your lane. and this is the thought that you guys keep giving me is, you're in the fast lane, and you've already got momentum that other people will have to build in order to catch you, if they can catch you. So yeah, just working in this space where it's like, okay, getting these other shows rolling. And then, I guess I keep needing reminding of this because you guys keep telling it to me. But I get it, and it's important. So I'm really digging it, and I really love the idea of building the training into Podwrench, and so I'm going to make that an integral part of it. And so my commitment this week, obviously I'm going to MicroConf, so the first half of the week is kind of out, but I should still be able to do some follow-ups on the data show and the open source sustainability and maintainability show. And those are ones that I already have traction on. So that's why those ones first. It's already moving, so less work, right?
Right.
And then I want to round it out to 3. So I'm also going to start reaching out to people about the AI show, because I do have some contacts there that I can move the needle with. So I'll do those, and then we'll get that done. Obviously I need to start getting some traction with Podwrench as well, as far as that goes. I have a developer, but he, how do I put it? Apparently if you give a laptop a drink, bad things happen. And so he's out of commission.
Is this like if you give a mouse a cookie?
Yeah, something like that.
If you give a laptop a drink, it's going to want a side of fries.
That's right. So anyway, apparently he's out for a week or two. And so, yeah, I'm just going to, but I'm
a week or two to go get a new laptop.
He's in Malaysia, so apparently that's complicated. So anyway,
when there's crocodiles involved, it gets more complicated.
I guess so. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to get the ball rolling there. And I'm probably going to jump in and start doing some dev work on it as well. Just to really kind of nail down some of the bits, because like the podcast host stuff that Josh and I were talking about initially, if I can just make that work in Podwrench, where the scheduling still happens through HubSpot and Google Calendar, but then maybe through Zapier it puts it into the schedule or updates the schedule, and then from there it's okay, here's all the prep information, here's the walkthrough on hosting the episode, blah blah blah, right? Here's the training on it. Then we can just build all that in so that it's kind of done. So
cool.
I'm really liking that. The other thing is I also like the idea of the training and then blending that with, being able to build your own process. So somebody else will have a different process for hosting a show. And so they can build that process in. And so when they go to record the show, it'll show their process instead of my process.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we can kind of work all that together. So anyway.
Cool. All right,
Cool.
guys.
All right.
I might not be here next week because I'm going to be in Kansas City. So see you guys later.
All righty.
I hear they have
See
good
ya.
barbecue out there.
Yes, I will be having Kansas City barbecue for sure.